The woman who needs nothing becomes everything. The woman who chases nothing is pursued by all. In the grand theater of human desire, there exists a truth so counterintuitive it sounds like madness, yet so profound that ancient philosophers whispered it in shadowed alcoves. Modern psychologists study it today in sterile labs, trying to decode the magnetic pull of a soul that refuses to beg. While 9 women throw themselves at a man's feet like autumn leaves in a desperate wind, the 10th stands still as a mountain, and suddenly, inexplicably, gravity itself seems to bend toward her. This isn't some recycled dating advice from someone who has never tasted the fire of true desire. This is the distilled essence of centuries of human interaction. It contains whispers from Cleopatra's candlelit chambers and the fierce truths scribbled in the notebooks of history's greatest strategists. What you are about to hear will either set you completely free or shake you so deeply you will wish you could unknow it. Once you understand why the woman willing to walk away is the only one who truly stays, you can never go back to your old ways. There exists a psychological strategy so powerful that it makes a man with infinite options stop seeing them and only see you. It is not what you think, and it is certainly not what you have been taught by modern media. It is definitely not what the other competitors are doing in their desperate race for attention. That psychological strategy has a name: the principle of inverted power. Before we dive into the mechanics of this power, let me tell you why everything you have been taught about attraction is backwards. The modern dating landscape has created a cruel illusion that more effort equals more reward. It tells you that constant availability equals desirability, and that perfection equals irresistibility. Here's the truth that is going to make you uncomfortable. Every time you compete for his attention, you have already lost. Do you know what happens when you respond faster than the others? You become the available one, a predictable variable in his daily routine. When you praise him more than others, you become just another admirer in a long line of fans. When you try to be perfect, you end up being completely predictable and safely categorized. In the game of high-stakes attraction, being predictable is the same as being ignored. Every instant message and every desperate attempt to impress him places you in a category he no longer values. You become a desperate candidate in an overcrowded market. He becomes the hiring director reviewing resumes, and you are just another applicant begging for the position. This dynamic is devastating for your value because it reduces your worth to a number in a pile. The biggest mistake women make is believing that giving more of themselves makes them more valuable. They think being more accommodating and more accessible will win his heart. But the psychological reality is brutal. What is obtained easily is valued little, and what is valued little is discarded quickly when the next shiny object appears. But here is where the real power begins to shift. While they compete, you observe from a place of calm detachment. While they chase, you create a life that is worth chasing. While they beg for attention, you generate genuine curiosity through your absence. Because the woman who understands the game never plays by the rules set by others. Men do not function the way many popular magazines claim they do. While women often process connection emotionally, men often process it through shared experiences and visual cues of respect. That sensation that others cannot create has a name in psychology: emotional anchoring. It is not about being a perfect person. It is about being an absolutely unforgettable experience. Have you ever wondered why a man remembers the woman who challenged him more than the one who adored him? It is simple: emotional intensity and the thrill of the struggle. The masculine brain does not store memories of neutral, lukewarm moments. It stores experiences that awakened his deep-seated instinct for conquest and achievement. While the other 9 women try to be the ideal and predictable partner, you are going to be the experience he cannot get out of his head. I am not talking about toxic drama or cheap emotional manipulation. I am talking about authentic psychological depth and the mystery of a soul that is not fully owned. The difference is subtle, but the impact is absolutely devastating. When others tell him he is incredible, you tell him there is something about his way of thinking that intrigues you more than it should. When they ask when they will see him again, you have a life so interesting that he has to earn a space in your calendar. You are operating from a place of genuine curiosity toward him, as a complex human being, not from a need for validation. And he perceives it immediately because it is so rare for someone to really see him instead of simply needing him. Men are exhausted by women who need them to feel complete or happy. When you appear as a complete woman who wants him but does not need him, you break his entire mental framework. He does not know how to categorize you because you do not fit any of his previous, easy experiences. Your goal is to create genuine admiration, not a fragile emotional dependence. Real masculine attachment is born when he feels you have chosen to be with him for his essence, not for what he can provide. In the realm of deep attraction, he's going to judge you more by how you make him feel about himself. Constant messages and total availability are just hands reaching out to grab him, but making him feel admired for his real achievements and intellectually challenged. Those are the eyes that see him. And in the game of deep attraction, the eyes will always win over the hands. The masculine mind is hardwired to function through challenges and meaningful conquests. When you give him everything without him earning a single bit of it, you eliminate the satisfaction of the win. It is like giving an athlete a gold medal before the race even starts. The medal loses all its emotional value. Men value what they feel they have earned through sustained effort and genuine merit. Now, real scarcity is not about pretending to be busy or playing games with your phone. It is about being genuinely selective with who you allow into your inner world. It is about having clear, high standards and maintaining them, even when it is difficult. When he perceives that your attention is limited but of extraordinarily high quality, your presence becomes addictive. He cannot get that feeling of being truly chosen by a valuable woman from just anyone on his contact list. While others fight for a mere few minutes on his schedule, you occupy real estate in his mind. Because the man who has many options does not need another admirer. He needs the woman who understands his world. This requires you to develop an authentic emotional strength that cannot be faked. Emotional neediness is the smell of fear, and men can detect that desperation from miles away. The difference between a powerful woman and a needy woman is found in the way she responds to silence. The powerful woman responds consciously and calmly, while the needy woman reacts impulsively and with panic. When he takes time to respond, the needy woman sends double messages and creates unnecessary drama. You, on the other hand, continue with your life because you understand that your value does not depend on a text. Your emotional well-being is not conditioned by his behavior toward you at any given moment. This level of emotional independence is so rare in today's world that it immediately distinguishes you from the crowd. Men are programmed to be hunters, but when a woman chases them, it confuses their most basic natural instinct. They become the prey in that scenario, and the natural instinct of the prey is to flee as fast as possible. When you maintain your personal power, he can exercise his nature as a conqueror, and that makes him feel truly alive. It is always better to be rejected for being your authentic self than to be accepted for being someone you are not. Authenticity generates a lasting respect. That is the foundation of any attraction that transcends the superficial. When you act just to impress him, you establish a false standard that you will eventually fail to maintain. Authenticity means being genuine in your values, crystal clear in your boundaries, and faithful to your own essence. Selective availability is not a trick. It is a fundamental requirement for a high-value life. It is not that you are pretending to not have time. It is that your time actually has real, tangible value to you. You are not playing at being busy. You actually have a life that matters more to you than external validation from men. Thoughtful responses also make a massive difference in how you are perceived. While others respond from a place of emotional impulse, you respond from a place of mental clarity and purpose. Every interaction you have should have a purpose beyond just filling the silence. Your mood should never depend on his energy or his specific mood toward you on a Tuesday afternoon. You are emotionally self-sufficient, which paradoxically makes you the most attractive person in the room. He perceives that you do not need his approval to be perfectly okay with yourself and your life. You have your own social circle, your own passions, your professional goals, and your unique hobbies. Your life is so rich and colorful that he feels fortunate just to have been granted access to it. You are not the woman who cancels her entire week for a last-minute date. You are the woman who has to carefully make space in her schedule because it is already full of things that matter. Clear and firm standards are non-negotiable for anyone who respects themselves. It is not that you are being difficult for the sake of it. It is that you know exactly what kind of energy you accept. These standards come from a deep place of self-respect, not from a place of arrogance or ego. But the most powerful strategy of all is the genuine, non-faked capacity to walk away. Other women cling to relationships because they are terrified of the void and the loss of the man. You generate an intense attraction because you are not afraid of losing him. You are only afraid of losing yourself. Masculine psychology works on a simple principle. He fears losing what he cannot completely control or predict. When you are predictable, he feels he controls you, and his interest begins to wane. When you are authentic and independent, he realizes he cannot own you, and his interest peaks. That healthy uncertainty generates an emotional adrenaline that becomes a deep, long-term interest. Men are competitive by nature, and they value what is recognized by the tribe. When they perceive that other high-value men also recognize your worth, their competitive instinct is activated. It is not about playing games or making him jealous. It is about maintaining your own social attractiveness. You should never become his exclusive possession before he has truly earned that privilege through consistency. This mentality is so powerful because it is genuine and rooted in your own integrity. The woman who is truly willing to leave is the only one who ever truly stays in his heart. While others beg for one more chance or a tiny bit more attention, you develop the most powerful mentality in existence. It is the real, grounded capacity to walk away when your standards are not being met. This is not a bluff, and it is not a psychological manipulation to get your way. It is a conscious, daily decision to value yourself more than any specific romantic outcome with him. This works because it completely violates every single expectation he has of women. He is used to women who become more intense when he pulls away, or who beg when he expresses doubt. But you do something that completely throws him off his balance. You respect his decision to pull away, and more importantly, you respect your own time and your own heart even more than his. This behavioral difference is so rare that it automatically places you in a different category of human being. Men are used to being treated as the ultimate prize in the dating market. But when they find a woman who also considers herself a prize, it creates a dynamic of equality that is fascinating. You are no longer just another fan or an admirer. You are an equal who could choose another if he fails to show up. When he cancels plans at the last minute, you do not immediately try to reschedule with desperation in your voice. When he leaves you on read for days, you do not insist with more messages or demands for an explanation. When he shows even a hint of disinterest, you do not intensify your efforts to win him back. Instead, you live your life as if it were already complete without him, because it actually is. Your happiness, your purpose, and your fundamental value as a woman do not depend on his presence. Real power is found in the absolute clarity of your personal standards and your boundaries. You only invest your precious energy in people who invest equally and consistently in you. If that dynamic changes, you step aside without a hint of drama, just with total clarity. It is not a threat you use to control him. It is a standard you use to protect yourself. It is not a desperate ultimatum. It is an act of profound self-respect. The psychology behind this is devastating to the masculine ego and his sense of comfort. When he perceives that he could actually lose you forever, his primitive brain activates every alarm it has. The fear of losing something truly valuable becomes much stronger than any other option he has. Options abound on his phone and on dating apps, but women with true self-respect are genuinely scarce. In a world full of people desperate for a like or a comment, the one who values herself stands out like a beacon. Men have a special, highly tuned radar for detecting even the smallest hint of female desperation. They can smell it when a woman has put her entire self-esteem into their hands for safekeeping. That kind of pressure drives men away because they feel they cannot be themselves without disappointing you. The final irony of attraction is this: when you stop needing him to be happy, you become the woman he needs. He will always choose the woman he knows he can lose if he stops trying. It is a psychological law as consistent and as undeniable as gravity itself. Everyone, regardless of gender, values more what they perceive as scarce, genuine, and hard to replace. Men want to feel they have chosen a partner, not that they have been trapped by one. When they perceive you are with them by choice and not by some desperate need, they can finally relax. While the other 9 women are busy competing, you're busy conquering your own life. While they beg for a crumb of attention, you are the one who chooses who gets yours. While they chase after him, you become the force of nature that simply cannot be ignored. Real power does not come from trying to be a perfect, polished version of yourself. It comes from being authentic, being raw, and being unapologetically you. It does not come from needing less love, but from valuing your own self more than the love of another. It does not come from playing games with his head, but from living by a set of unbreakable principles. This transformation requires real, sustained internal work that most people are unwilling to do. It means building a life so rich and so meaningful that no man can ever be the center of your universe. It means developing your own passions, your own purposes, and your own deep friendships. When you have built this foundation, scarcity and self-respect are no longer performances you put on. They become your natural daily reality that people can feel when you walk into a room. A complete woman does not look for a man to complete her. She looks for one to complement her. This mental difference is what separates women in healthy relationships from those on emotional roller coasters. You do not need to be the prettiest, the smartest, or the youngest woman in the room. You only need to be the most authentic and the most self-aware person he has ever met. That version of you has absolutely no rivals, because she is truly one of a kind. 90% of the people who hear these words will change absolutely nothing about their lives. They will continue competing and hoping that some superficial trick will solve their deep problems. But if you are part of the 10% that really implements this mentality, you are on your way to something special. Real attraction always begins with the relationship you have with the woman in the mirror. He does not choose the best candidate on paper. He chooses the woman who chose herself first. He chooses the woman who does not need his validation to know her own immense value. He chooses the woman who has the strength to walk away and therefore is the only one he wants to stay with. Real power is built from the inside out, one decision and one boundary at a time. And when you finally have it, you will realize you do not need to chase anyone ever again. You simply live your extraordinary life. And extraordinary people will naturally gravitate toward your light. The most powerful strategy is simply becoming the type of woman that you yourself would deeply respect. When you achieve that internal state, attraction stops being a game you play for others. It becomes the natural, effortless result of who you have become as a human being. There are only two types of women in this world: those who beg to be chosen and those who choose themselves. History remembers the ones who chose themselves, and men never ever forget them. The ancient Greeks had a word for this: ataraxia, the unshakable serenity of knowing your worth. When you possess this serenity, you do not just win the game of attraction, you transcend it. You become the rare woman who does not play for love, because you are already complete and sovereign. The moment you stop needing to be chosen by him is the moment you become the only choice that matters. 9 women will keep chasing, still hoping to be picked like a flower in a field. But one woman will stop, look in the mirror, and finally remember who she truly is. She is not a woman begging for attention. She is a queen who chooses where to place her focus. The only heart worth surrendering to is the one that knows it cannot be conquered by force. Which woman will you decide to be starting today? The answer to that question does more than determine your love life. It determines your entire legacy. Every decision you make from this moment on is a statement of your own worth. Choose yourself first, and the rest of the world will have no choice but to follow your lead. True power is quiet, it is steady, and it is yours for the taking right now. Do not let another day pass in the pursuit of someone else's fleeting approval. Build your empire, cultivate your peace, and watch how the landscape of your life changes forever. You are the architect of your own desire and the master of your own destiny. In the end, the most attractive thing you can ever be is yourself, fully realized and completely free.